Chapter 1. The Exile of Xylox. In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, where even the light of the nearest stars barely penetrated, lay the desolate planet of Xilrath. Xilrath was a world shrouded in perpetual twilight, a barren and forsaken place that seemed forgotten by time and space. Its surface was scarred by ancient volcanic eruptions, leaving vast plains of blackened rock and ash, punctuated by jagged mountain ranges that cast long, eerie shadows across the land. On this inhospitable planet lived a creature named Xylox. Towering over any human, Xylox was a colossal reptilian beast. His scales shimmered with an iridescent glow, reflecting the faint light that managed to reach the planet. His eyes, large and deep, held a sorrowful intelligence that belied his fearsome appearance. Once a revered guardian of his homeworld, Xylox had been unjustly banished to Xilrath for a crime he did not commit. He had been accused of betrayal, of turning against his people in their most desperate hour. And for this, he was exiled to live out his days in isolation. The memory of his trial was etched deeply into his mind. The Grand Council of Eldora, his homeworld, had been convened in the Hall of Judgment. The hall, a magnificent structure made of crystal and light, had been filled with his kin, their eyes filled with anger and betrayal. Xylox had stood in the center, bound by chains of pure energy, as the council members listed his supposed crimes. The evidence had been damning, yet Xylox knew it was fabricated. He had tried to speak in his defense, but his words had been drowned out by the cries for justice. The council had pronounced their verdict swiftly, and before he could fully grasp the gravity of his situation, he was transported to Xilrath, stripped of his title and honor. Xilrath was a stark contrast to the lush, verdant paradise Xylox once called home. Eldora had been a world of beauty and harmony, its forests teeming with life, its skies clear and bright. Here on Xilrath, the sky was a perpetual gray, the air thick with sulfur and ash. The ground was hard and unforgiving, and the only signs of life were the occasional scavenger creatures that scuttled across the rocks. Xylox roamed the rocky plains, his massive claws leaving deep gouges in the earth. His heart was heavy with the weight of his undeserved fate. Despite his fearsome appearance, Xylox was a gentle soul. He mourned the loss of his freedom and the betrayal that had led to his exile. He spent his days wandering the lifeless expanse, searching for any signs of life, but finding only the echoes of his own sorrow. His nights were filled with dreams of the past, memories of his days as a guardian, and the haunting image of the council that had condemned him. He often found himself drawn to the cliffs that lined the horizon. These cliffs, made of a dark, obsidian-like rock, were a reminder of the barriers that now separated him from his former life. He would climb to the highest point and sit there for hours, gazing out over the desolate landscape, his mind drifting back to happier times. He remembered the joy of soaring through the skies of Eldora, the thrill of the hunt, and the peace of knowing he was protecting his world. But now, all he had were memories and the endless expanse of Xilrath. He had tried to make the best of his situation, to find some semblance of purpose in his new life. He explored every corner of the planet, mapping out its terrain and cataloging the sparse flora and fauna he encountered. He discovered ancient ruins, remnants of a long-forgotten civilization that had once thrived on Xilrath. These ruins fascinated him, and he spent countless hours studying the carvings and symbols that adorned the crumbling walls, trying to decipher their meaning. Despite his efforts, the loneliness was overwhelming. He longed for companionship, for someone to share his thoughts and discoveries with. He missed the camaraderie of his fellow guardians, the sense of belonging that came with being part of a group. He tried to befriend the scavenger creatures, but they were skittish and fearful, always scurrying away at the sight of him. One day, as he wandered through a particularly desolate part of the planet, he stumbled upon a strange artifact buried in the ground. It was a small metallic device, covered in dirt and grime. Intrigued, Xylox carefully cleaned it off and examined it. The device was unlike anything he had seen before, its design intricate and advanced. He pressed a button on its surface, and to his surprise it sprang to life, emitting a faint blue light. The light coalesced into a holographic image of a figure, cloaked in shadows. The figure spoke in a language Xylox did not understand, but the tone was clear. It was a message, perhaps a distress call or a warning. Xylox tried to decipher the meaning, but the language was too complex. He stored the device in a small cave he had made his home, hoping that one day he might find a way to understand its message. As the years passed, Xylox grew accustomed to his solitude. His hope of ever returning home dwindled with each passing day. He resigned himself to his fate, believing that no one would ever come to rescue him from his lonely exile. But deep down, a small part of him still held on to the hope that one day his innocence would be proven and he would be able to return to Eldora. Then one night, as he lay under the cold, starless sky, he saw a light in the distance. It was faint at first, but it grew steadily brighter, cutting through the darkness like a beacon. Xylox's heart raced as he watched the light approach. Could it be a ship? Could someone have finally come to rescue him? He stood up and roared, a deep, resonant sound that echoed across the plains. The light grew closer, and he could see that it was indeed a spacecraft, its sleek metallic hull glinting in the dim light. As it landed, Xylox felt a surge of hope and fear. Who could it be? Were they friend or foe? The hatch of the spacecraft opened, and a figure stepped out. Xylox's eyes widened in surprise as he saw that it was a human, a young girl no more than 12 years old. She was small and fragile-looking, but there was a determination in her eyes that reminded him of himself. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear that must have been coursing through her veins. "Xylox," she called out, "I am Ilara, a human from Terra. I have come to rescue you and prove your innocence." Xylox regarded her with a mixture of surprise and skepticism. He had long given up hope of ever being rescued, let alone by a young human girl. "Why would you risk your life to help me?" he rumbled, his voice deep and resonant. Ilara met his gaze, her determination shining through. "Because I believe in justice, and I believe that you were wrongfully exiled. I will do everything in my power to help you clear your name and return to your home." In that moment, Xylox felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, his fate was about to change. Chapter 2. A New Hope. Far across the galaxy, in the thriving metropolis of Terrapolis on the planet Terra, the atmosphere was one of constant innovation and discovery. Terrapolis was a beacon of human achievement, a city that seemed to touch the sky with its towering skyscrapers and advanced technology. The citizens of Terra had made significant strides in space exploration, pushing the boundaries of what was possible and reaching farther into the cosmos than ever before. Among the inhabitants of this bustling city was a young girl named Ilara. At just 12 years old, Ilara possessed an intelligence and curiosity that set her apart from her peers. Her parents, renowned scientists themselves, had instilled in her a love for the stars and a thirst for knowledge from an early age. Ilara spent countless hours poring over star maps, reading about distant worlds, and dreaming of the adventures that awaited her in the vastness of space. Ilara's room was a testament to her passions. Posters of galaxies, nebulae, and distant planets covered the walls. Her desk was cluttered with books on astrophysics, engineering, and alien cultures. A model of the solar system hung from the ceiling, and a telescope stood by the window, ready for stargazing on clear nights. Ilara's favorite possession, however, was a small, worn journal that had once belonged to her grandfather. It was filled with notes, sketches, and observations from his own explorations, and it served as a constant source of inspiration for her. One day, while delving into the archives of the Terrapolis Grand Library, Ilara stumbled upon an ancient star map that caught her attention. The map, yellowed with age and covered in intricate markings, depicted a distant region of the galaxy that she had never seen before. At the center of this map was a planet labeled Zilrath, accompanied by a series of symbols that seemed to tell a story. Intrigued, Ilara began to research Zilrath and soon discovered the legend of Xylox, the Banished Guardian. According to the ancient texts, Xylox had been a noble protector of his world, wrongfully accused of betrayal and exiled to the desolate planet of Zilrath. The story resonated deeply with Alara, and she found herself captivated by the idea of proving Xylox's innocence and bringing him back to his rightful place. Alara's parents, Dr. Lena and Dr. Marcus Storm, were initially skeptical of her newfound obsession. They were both highly respected scientists, known for their groundbreaking work in astrophysics and biotechnology. While they admired their daughter's passion for discovery, they worried about the dangers and challenges she might face in pursuing such a daunting mission. However, Alara's determination was unshakable. She presented her research to her parents, highlighting the evidence she had found and her plan to rescue Xylox. She spoke with such conviction and clarity that Dr. Lena and Dr. Marcus could not help but be impressed. They saw in their daughter the same spark of curiosity and bravery that had driven their own careers, and they decided to support her in her quest. Together, they began to prepare for the journey to Xilrath. Dr. Lena and Dr. Marcus utilized their extensive knowledge and resources to design a small but highly advanced spacecraft specifically for Alara's mission. The ship, named the Starlight, was equipped with the latest technology, including advanced navigation systems, life support, and a powerful energy shield to protect against the harsh conditions of Xilrath. Alara underwent rigorous training, learning everything she could about space travel, survival in extreme environments, and the history and culture of Xylox's people. Her parents ensured that she was well prepared for any challenges she might face, providing her with specialized equipment and teaching her essential skills for the mission. As the launch date approached, Alara felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. She knew the journey would be long and perilous, but the thought of rescuing Xylox and proving his innocence filled her with a sense of purpose and determination. The night before her departure, she stood on the balcony of her family's apartment, gazing up at the stars and wondering what awaited her in the vast expanse of space. Finally, the day of the launch arrived. The spaceport was abuzz with activity as technicians made final preparations and well-wishers gathered to see Alara off. Dr. Lena and Dr. Marcus hugged their daughter tightly, their faces filled with pride and a touch of concern. "Be brave, Alara," Dr. Lena said, her voice trembling slightly. "Remember everything we've taught you and trust in yourself." Alara nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "I will, Mom. I promise I'll make you proud." With a final wave, Alara boarded the Starlight and took her place in the cockpit. The spacecraft's systems hummed to life, and the control panel lit up with a myriad of displays and indicators. Alara took a deep breath and initiated the launch sequence, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. The countdown began, and as the engines roared to life, the Starlight lifted off the ground, rising steadily into the sky. The spectators below cheered and waved, their voices growing fainter as the spacecraft ascended into the atmosphere. Alara watched as Terra's blue and green surface receded into the distance, replaced by the blackness of space dotted with countless stars. The journey to Xilrath was long and arduous. Alara navigated through asteroid fields, dealt with the isolation of deep space travel, and maintained the Starlight systems with the precision of a seasoned astronaut. She communicated regularly with her parents, who provided guidance and encouragement from their base on Terra. Despite the challenges, Alara's determination never wavered. She kept her mind focused on the mission, driven by the belief that Xylox's innocence could be proven and that justice could be served. Weeks passed as Alara traveled through the cosmos, the Starlight hurtling towards its destination. She spent her time studying the data she had collected, refining her plans, and preparing for the moment when she would finally set foot on Xilrath. She practiced with her equipment, ran simulations of potential scenarios, and mentally rehearsed her encounter with Xylox. One day, as Alara was monitoring the ship's sensors, an alarm sounded, indicating that she had entered Xilrath's orbit. Her heart raced as she activated the descent sequence, guiding the Starlight through the thick, toxic atmosphere of the planet. The spacecraft shook violently as it pierced through the clouds of sulfur and ash, the view outside obscured by swirling darkness. As the Starlight broke through the cloud cover, Alara caught her first glimpse of Xilrath's surface. The landscape below was bleak and foreboding, a vast expanse of blackened rock and ash punctuated by jagged cliffs and dormant volcanoes. She scanned the terrain for a suitable landing site, finally selecting a relatively flat area near a series of cliffs that rose like ancient sentinels from the ground. The starlight touched down with a gentle thud, and Alara took a moment to steady her nerves. She had made it to Zilrath, but the real challenge was just beginning. She donned her protective suit and gathered her equipment, her heart pounding with anticipation. As she stepped out of the spacecraft, she was immediately struck by the harshness of the environment. The air was thick with sulfur, and the ground was littered with sharp rocks and ash. Alara activated her scanning device, searching for any signs of life. The device emitted a series of beeps and clicks, indicating faint energy signatures in the distance. She began her trek across the desolate landscape, her determination unwavering despite the harsh conditions. The journey was grueling, and Alara had to navigate treacherous terrain, avoid dangerous creatures, and endure the constant discomfort of the toxic atmosphere. Days turned into weeks as Alara scoured the planet, following the readings on her scanner. She discovered remnants of ancient structures and artifacts, evidence of a long-forgotten civilization that had once thrived on Zilrath. These discoveries fascinated her, and she spent hours studying the carvings and symbols that adorned the crumbling walls, trying to piece together the history of this enigmatic world. One evening, as Alara rested near a bubbling sulfur spring, she heard a low, rumbling sound that sent shivers down her spine. She turned to see a massive, shadowy figure emerging from the darkness. Her heart raced as she realized that she had finally found Xylox. The creature was even more imposing than she had imagined, his glowing eyes fixed on her with a mix of curiosity and caution. Alara took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "Xylox," she called out, "I am Alara, a human from Terra. I have come to rescue you and prove your innocence." Xylox regarded her with a mixture of surprise and skepticism. He had long given up hope of ever being rescued, let alone by a young human girl. "Why would you risk your life to help me?" he rumbled, his voice deep and resonant. Alara met his gaze, her determination shining through. "Because I believe in justice, and I believe that you were wrongfully exiled. I will do everything in my power to help you clear your name and return to your home." Xylox was deeply moved by Alara's words, but he knew that their journey would not be easy. The council that had exiled him was powerful and ruthless, and proving his innocence would require more than just bravery and determination. However, with Alara's unwavering resolve and the advanced technology at her disposal, he felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in years. They returned to the Starlight, where Alara shared her findings and plans with Xylox. They worked together to devise a strategy for gathering the evidence needed to clear Xylox's name. Xylox revealed that there was a secret hidden deep within Zilrath that could prove his innocence, an ancient artifact known as the Crystal of Truth, which had the power to reveal the true events that had led to his exile. The Crystal of Truth was guarded by dangerous creatures and traps, making the journey to retrieve it perilous. Despite the dangers, Alara and Xylox were determined to succeed. They prepared for the journey, gathering supplies and devising a plan to navigate the treacherous terrain and overcome the obstacles that lay ahead. As they set out on their quest, Alara and Xylox faced numerous challenges. They navigated through labyrinthine tunnels, battled fierce guardians that protected the ancient relic, and endured the harsh conditions of Zilrath's environment. Despite the dangers, their bond grew stronger with each passing day, their trust in one another unshakable. Finally, after weeks of perilous journeying, they reached the chamber where the Crystal of Truth was kept. The crystal was a magnificent glowing gem, pulsating with an otherworldly energy. As Alara and Xylox approached it, they were confronted by the final guardian, a colossal beast that seemed to be a fusion of metal and stone. In the fierce battle that ensued, Alara's bravery and quick thinking proved crucial. She managed to distract the guardian long enough for Xylox to deliver a decisive blow, shattering the creature into pieces. With the guardian defeated, they approached the Crystal of Truth, their hearts pounding with anticipation. As Xylox touched the crystal, it began to glow even brighter, enveloping them in a blinding light. Images and sounds filled the chamber, revealing the true events that had led to Xylox's exile. The Council's treachery was laid bare, their lies and deceit exposed for all to see. However, the power of the crystal came at a great cost. In order to reveal the truth and clear Xylox's name, a sacrifice had to be made. Ilara, realizing what was at stake, made the ultimate decision. With tears in her eyes, she placed her hand on the crystal, knowing that her life would be the price for Xylox's freedom. The chamber was filled with a brilliant light as the crystal absorbed Ilara's essence, releasing the truth to the universe. Xylox watched in anguish as the young girl who had risked everything to save him faded away, her sacrifice ensuring that justice would prevail. With the truth revealed, Xylox's innocence was proven, and the council that had betrayed him was overthrown. He returned to his homeworld, a hero once more, but his heart was forever marked by the sacrifice of the brave little human girl who had believed in him when no one else would. Ilara's memory lived on as a beacon of hope and courage, a testament to the power of friendship and the pursuit of justice, no matter the cost. Chapter 3. The Encounter. The journey to Xilrath was not just a physical one, but a deeply emotional and psychological trial for Ilara. Each passing day brought new challenges and tested her resolve. The vastness of space was both beautiful and intimidating, and the isolation of her voyage weighed heavily on her young shoulders. Despite regular communication with her parents, the loneliness was profound. The silence of space was a constant companion, broken only by the hum of the Starlight's engines and the occasional beeping of the ship's systems. Ilara kept herself busy with a strict routine. She maintained the spacecraft, ran diagnostics, studied maps and ancient texts about Xilrath and Xylox's people, and trained physically to keep herself in peak condition. She knew that once she landed on Xilrath, she would face an environment unlike any she had ever experienced. The planet's harsh conditions required her to be at her best, both mentally and physically. As the weeks turned into months, Ilara's excitement grew. She was getting closer to Xilrath, and the thought of finally meeting Xylox filled her with a mix of anticipation and fear. She often wondered what he would be like. Would he be as fearsome as the legends described? Would he trust her, a human, enough to let her help him? These questions kept her mind occupied during the long, solitary nights. One evening, as she gazed out of the spacecraft's viewport at the endless expanse of stars, Ilara felt a deep sense of purpose. She was on a mission not just to rescue Xylox, but to stand up for what was right. The injustice done to him resonated deeply with her, and she was determined to prove his innocence. She felt a connection to Xylox, even though she had never met him, and this connection fueled her determination to see the mission through. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Starlight sensors detected Xilrath. Ilara's heart raced as she initiated the descent sequence. The spacecraft's systems guided her through the dense, toxic atmosphere, and she marveled at the sight of the planet's surface coming into view. The landscape was as desolate and foreboding as she had imagined, with vast plains of blackened rock and ash, jagged cliffs, and dormant volcanoes. The Starlight touched down on a relatively flat area near a series of cliffs that rose like ancient sentinels from the ground. Ilara took a moment to steady her nerves. She had made it to Xilrath, but the real challenge was just beginning. She donned her protective suit, checked her equipment, and stepped out of the spacecraft, ready to face whatever awaited her. The air was thick with sulfur, and the ground was littered with sharp rocks and ash. Ilara activated her scanning device, which emitted a series of beeps and clicks, indicating faint energy signatures in the distance. She began her trek across the desolate landscape, her determination unwavering despite the harsh conditions. The journey was grueling, and Ilara had to navigate treacherous terrain, avoid dangerous creatures, and endure the constant discomfort of the toxic atmosphere. Days turned into weeks as Ilara scoured the planet, following the readings on her scanner. She discovered remnants of ancient structures and artifacts, evidence of a long-forgotten civilization that had once thrived on Xilrath. These discoveries fascinated her, and she spent hours studying the carvings and symbols that adorned the crumbling walls, trying to piece together the history of this enigmatic world. One evening, as Alara rested near a bubbling sulfur spring, she heard a low, rumbling sound that sent shivers down her spine. She turned to see a massive, shadowy figure emerging from the darkness. Her heart raced as she realized that she had finally found Xylox. The creature was even more imposing than she had imagined, his glowing eyes fixed on her with a mix of curiosity and caution. Xylox stood before her, his scales shimmering with an iridescent glow. He was a towering reptilian beast, his presence both awe-inspiring and intimidating. Alara took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "Xylox," she called out, "I am Alara, a human from Terra. I have come to rescue you and prove your innocence." Xylox regarded her with a mixture of surprise and skepticism. He had long given up hope of ever being rescued, let alone by a young human girl. "Why would you risk your life to help me?" he rumbled, his voice deep and resonant. Alara met his gaze, her determination shining through. "Because I believe in justice, and I believe that you were wrongfully exiled. I will do everything in my power to help you clear your name and return to your home." Xylox was deeply moved by Alara's words, but he knew that their journey would not be easy. The council that had exiled him was powerful and ruthless, and proving his innocence would require more than just bravery and determination. However, with Alara's unwavering resolve and the advanced technology at her disposal, he felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in years. As they spoke, Alara shared her findings and plans with Xylox. They devised a strategy for gathering the evidence needed to clear Xylox's name. Xylox revealed that there was a secret hidden deep within Xilrath that could prove his innocence, an ancient artifact known as the Crystal of Truth, which had the power to reveal the true events that had led to his exile. The Crystal of Truth was located in a hidden chamber deep within the planet's most treacherous terrain. It was guarded by dangerous creatures and traps, making the journey to retrieve it perilous. Despite the dangers, Alara and Xylox were determined to succeed. They prepared for the journey, gathering supplies and devising a plan to navigate the hazardous terrain and overcome the obstacles that lay ahead. As they set out on their quest, Alara and Xylox faced numerous challenges. They navigated through labyrinthine tunnels, battled fierce guardians that protected the ancient relic, and endured the harsh conditions of Xilrath's environment. Despite the dangers, their bond grew stronger with each passing day, their trust in one another unshakable. One particularly harrowing challenge came when they encountered a series of underground caverns filled with deadly bioluminescent creatures. These creatures, known as Luminara, were attracted to movement and emitted a paralyzing venom that could incapacitate their prey. Alara and Xylox had to move with extreme caution, using stealth and strategy to avoid detection. Alara's quick thinking and Xylox's strength proved to be a formidable combination as they navigated the treacherous caverns. As they journeyed deeper into the heart of Xilrath, Alara learned more about Xylox and his people. He shared stories of his life as a guardian, his duties, and the deep connection he had with his homeworld. Alara listened intently, fascinated by the rich history and culture of Xylox's people. She felt a growing sense of responsibility to help him clear his name and restore his honor. One evening, as they rested in a small cave, Xylox revealed more about the events that had led to his exile. He spoke of a powerful rival who had coveted his position and orchestrated a plot to frame him for betrayal. This rival had fabricated evidence and manipulated the council into believing that Xylox had turned against his people. The pain and betrayal in Xylox's voice were palpable, and Alara's resolve to help him only grew stronger. Finally, after weeks of perilous journeying, they reached the chamber where the Crystal of Truth was kept. The crystal was a magnificent, glowing gem, pulsating with an otherworldly energy. The chamber itself was a marvel of ancient engineering, with intricate carvings and symbols adorning the walls. As Alara and Xylox approached the crystal, they were confronted by the final guardian, a colossal beast that seemed to be a fusion of metal and stone. The guardian was a formidable opponent. its body a seamless blend of advanced technology and ancient magic. It moved with a grace and precision that belied its massive size, and its attacks were devastating. Alara and Xylox fought with all their might, using every ounce of their strength and cunning to defeat the Guardian. Alara's agility and quick thinking were crucial in evading the Guardian's attacks, while Xylox's brute strength and resilience allowed him to deliver powerful blows. The battle was intense and exhausting, but their determination and teamwork prevailed. With a final decisive strike, Xylox shattered the Guardian into pieces, clearing the way to the Crystal of Truth. They approached the crystal, their hearts pounding with anticipation. As Xylox touched the crystal, it began to glow even brighter, enveloping them in a blinding light. Images and sounds filled the chamber, revealing the true events that had led to Xylox's exile. The Council's treachery was laid bare, their lies and deceit exposed for all to see. The crystal's power was undeniable, and its revelation would clear Xylox's name and restore his honor. However, the power of the crystal came at a great cost. In order to reveal the truth and clear Xylox's name, a sacrifice had to be made. Alara, realizing what was at stake, made the ultimate decision. With tears in her eyes, she placed her hand on the crystal, knowing that her life would be the price for Xylox's freedom. The chamber was filled with a brilliant light, as the crystal absorbed Alara's essence, releasing the truth to the universe. Xylox watched in anguish as the young girl who had risked everything to save him faded away, her sacrifice ensuring that justice would prevail. With the truth revealed, Xylox's innocence was proven, and the council that had betrayed him was overthrown. He returned to his homeworld, a hero once more, but his heart was forever marked by the sacrifice of the brave little human girl who had believed in him when no one else would. Alara's memory lived on as a beacon of hope and courage, a testament to the power of friendship and the pursuit of justice, no matter the cost. Chapter 4. The Sacrifice. With the revelation of the Crystal of Truth, the entire cosmos learned of Xylox's innocence. The energy released from the crystal, carrying the undeniable truth of the Council's deceit, spread far and wide. It reached the ears of Xylox's people on Eldora, the galactic governing bodies, and every corner of the universe that had once heard of the legendary Guardian's fall from grace. News traveled quickly back to Eldora. The once respected council members, now exposed as traitors, faced immediate repercussions. The people of Eldora were outraged, their trust shattered by the betrayal of those they had once revered. Demands for justice echoed through the grand halls and bustling cities of Eldora, and soon the council members were arrested and brought to trial. Xylox, despite his triumph, was haunted by the memory of Alara's sacrifice. He had never imagined that the price of his freedom would be the life of the brave young girl who had risked everything to help him. Her final moments played over and over in his mind, a constant reminder of the depth of her courage and the strength of her conviction. With the help of his remaining allies, Xylox arranged for Alara's story to be told throughout the galaxy. Statues were erected in her honor on Eldora, Terra, and several other planets, commemorating her bravery and selflessness. Her name became synonymous with justice and heroism, and her legacy inspired countless others to stand up for what was right, no matter the cost. But Xylox could not rest. He felt an obligation to honor Alara's sacrifice by continuing the fight for justice. He traveled across the galaxy, visiting planets that had been affected by corruption and injustice, using his newfound freedom and influence to advocate for those who had been wronged. Everywhere he went, he shared Alara's story, ensuring that her sacrifice would never be forgotten. Back on Terra, Dr. Lena and Dr. Marcus Storm were devastated by the loss of their daughter. They had always known that Alara was special, but her bravery and selflessness exceeded even their highest expectations. Despite their grief, they were immensely proud of her and took comfort in the knowledge that her sacrifice had made a significant impact on the galaxy. The scientific community on Terra rallied around the Storm family, offering their support and resources to continue Alara's mission. Dr. Lena and Dr. Marcus dedicated their lives to furthering space exploration and fostering intergalactic cooperation. They established the Alara Storm Foundation, an organization committed to promoting justice, exploring the unknown, and supporting young explorers who shared Alara's passion for discovery. As the years passed, the memory of Alara's sacrifice continued to inspire countless individuals. Young explorers, scientists, and activists drew strength from her story, using it as a beacon of hope in their own struggles. The galaxy, once divided by corruption and injustice, began to heal, united by the example set by a brave young girl from Terra. Xylox, though burdened by the weight of Alara's sacrifice, found solace in his work. He knew that he was fulfilling her legacy by continuing the fight for justice and ensuring that her story lived on. Every time he looked up at the stars, he felt a connection to Alara, a reminder that her spirit was always with him. One day, while visiting a distant planet, Xylox encountered a group of young explorers who had been inspired by Alara's story. They were determined to make a difference in the galaxy, just as she had. Xylox saw the same spark of determination and bravery in their eyes that he had seen in Alara's, and he knew that her legacy was in good hands. As Xylox continued his travels, he carried with him a small memento of Alara, the worn journal that had once belonged to her grandfather. Inside, Alara had written about her journey, her dreams, and her hopes for the future. Xylox found comfort in reading her words, knowing that her spirit lived on through the pages of the journal and in the hearts of those she had inspired. Despite the challenges and hardships, Xylox never wavered in his mission. He knew that he owed his freedom and his newfound purpose to Alara, and he was determined to honor her memory by making the galaxy a better place. His travels took him to the farthest reaches of the cosmos, where he encountered new civilizations, forged alliances, and continued to advocate for justice. In time, Xylox's efforts led to significant changes across the galaxy. Corrupt leaders were ousted, unjust laws were overturned, and a new era of cooperation and understanding began to take shape. The galaxy, once plagued by division and conflict, slowly transformed into a place of hope and possibility. On Eldora, the once divided people came together to rebuild and heal. Xylox's return brought a renewed sense of pride and unity, and the statues of Alara served as a constant reminder of the power of courage and conviction. The people of Eldora vowed never to forget the lessons learned from Xylox's exile and Alara's sacrifice, and they worked tirelessly to create a just and equitable society. Back on Terra, the Alara Storm Foundation flourished, attracting young minds from across the galaxy who were eager to follow in Alara's footsteps. The Foundation funded numerous exploratory missions, scientific research, and humanitarian efforts, all in the name of promoting justice and understanding. Dr. Lena and Dr. Marcus continued to lead the Foundation with unwavering dedication, ensuring that their daughter's legacy would live on for generations to come. In the end, Alara's sacrifice had a profound and lasting impact on the galaxy. Her story became a legend, a tale of bravery and selflessness that inspired countless individuals to stand up for what was right. The galaxy, once a place of darkness and division, was transformed by the light of her legacy, a testament to the enduring power of hope and justice. As Xylox looked back on his journey, he knew that he had been forever changed by Alara's sacrifice. He had gained a new understanding of the power of friendship and the importance of standing up for what was right. He knew that he would continue to honor her memory by fighting for justice and making the galaxy a better place for all. And so, with the stars as his guide and Alara's spirit as his companion, Xylox continued his journey, knowing that the legacy of a brave young girl from Terra would never be forgotten.